It's E3 again this year, and on today's episode of Talk About Games, we're going to talk about the top 10 things that most interest us at E3. Yeah. This isn't like a definitive list of the best things.
There's 10 million things that are going on at E3, so we picked what we're most interested to talk about. So here we go. Number 10 is the downloadable content for Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, this is already a huge game in and of itself. I haven't even finished the game. The game went on for so long that I was like, all right, I need to take a break for a little while. So the fact that they're giving you even more content is kind of crazy because it is such a big game. But the content does look pretty cool. I would be interested to play it. So some of the things they're offering with the new downloadable content is they have a sort of a trial, and it's a new area, I think, on the top part of the map. Okay. Which looks kind of cool. It doesn't look terribly different than anything that I've already seen in the game. It just, there's more of it. But the main thing that I saw that was cool, and I might try out actually, is the master mode, where it's basically a hard version of the game where you can fight, like the Lionels and things like that, and I think that that's cool because I got to the point with it where I was getting good enough that fighting was becoming not very difficult. So right. the fact that they're gonna make it a little bit harder is kind of cool. I always like challenge modes and things like that. Well,
yeah, once you master the shield and things like that,
it starts to become easy.
It starts to become a little easy, but yeah, I mean, I think it's time. With Zelda games, we didn't see a lot, if any, DLC. It's kind of like, this is Zelda, this is a single player experience. The fact that Nintendo's branching out now and giving us new content in a game, it's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
It's not the exact downloadable content I was looking for Breath of the Wild. I've said this 100 times, but I wanted more music to be a downloadable content. I hope that they do add that eventually for the game. There's other things I would like to see more. I think they are doing more like labyrinths and stuff, so that is cool. It looks like a new dungeon. So I am excited for that, and maybe I'll try that out.
Number 9 on our list is Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. I was a huge fan of the original Mount & Blade series. It was made by a small European developer. And the idea of it is, if you watch Game of Thrones, if you like the idea of building your own medieval kingdom up from being a peasant on the countryside to finally taking over the kingdom and having all the vassals and everything.
A little like Warcraft.
Well, it's a little like that, but it has 2 parts to it. There's a world map where you move around and go to castles and travel, and you get attacked while you're traveling, and you're trying to build up this army. But then there's the combat, which the combat is a third person where you have a sword, and you're actually on the battlefield, but you're commanding your troops while they're fighting. Okay. And the original game was awesome because you could go to tournaments in cities, and you could try to meet like maidens and marry them to further your standing in the realm. It had basic graphics, it had basic menus, it had basic interfaces. Everything was basic, and tons of people made mods to it. Like, there's a mod that makes the world like Game of Thrones. There's like, it was a very popular game, but you could tell that their budget was limited. Now it has better graphics, everything's bigger, everything's brighter, everything's more fleshed out. And I'm really glad that they could take a concept that was a lot of fun in its basic form and make it like
and give it a
competitive title, give it a budget. So that's one of the things that's really cool about Bannerlord.
All right, so for number 8, I picked Cuphead. Now, this is a game that people have been talking about for a long time. I believe it got delayed a few times. So.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about our top 10 for E3 2015?
Yeah, we were actually going to do a video on Cuphead like 2 years ago or something when they first started showing stuff for the game. So it's very delayed, but apparently it's finally coming out on, I have the date here, September 29th. We actually have a release date now. So if you don't know anything about what Cuphead is, it's essentially like an old Ub Iwerks cartoon, or like Silly Symphonies, like old 1930s style animation, which I'm a huge fan of, and I've always wanted to see them do a game in that style. But I would imagine that the reason for the delay with this is the fact that, that kind of animation is incredibly time-consuming and tedious and hard to do, and they are making a video game that is literally, it's like an animated version of one of those cartoons. So I can't imagine how difficult it is to create that game, but I'm still super excited for it. What do you think about it? You've seen it?
Yeah, I mean the game looks amazing. I mean, definitely the thing that sells it. It's a side scroller. It's a shooter. That's cool. But what's really cool is, again, it has the animation like those like Walt Disney cartoons and things like that. One of the first times I met Mike, you were with the film reels of
the 16mm.
The 16mm film of the old cartoons. And you showed me like the fanographic stuff, like the restorations and stuff like that. And I thought all that stuff was really awesome because I hadn't seen it before. And now that there's a game about it, I felt like, this is like really a solid game that you would enjoy. The art is unbelievable.
Fanographics was actually
for the comics.
For the comics, yeah. But as far as that, I think these in particular are really based off of sort of like what the public domain kind of cartoons are now, where some of these cartoons have fallen out of rights, like Bugs Bunny cartoons. They still have the rights to those and Disney stuff, but this more looks like the kind of cartoons that they would show on Pee-wee's Playhouse. And the reason they were able to do that was because they couldn't license out like Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Right.
They had to find things that were in public domain. So that's the kind of style this looks, and I think that's pretty awesome. And in particular, there's a cartoon with the Pincushion Man. I can tell that cartoon in particular is very influential to this game, and I'm still very excited for it. It actually doesn't bother me that the game's taking longer. I would rather them take longer and make the game good as opposed to rushing it out and have it be crappy. One thing that does bother me, though, is it's only on Xbox
and PC.
And PC, okay. Yeah. I'm curious of why it's not on the other systems.
Microsoft was involved in the funding of the game. Like, anytime that we looked at the game in advance and, we had conversations, it was always like Microsoft publishing. Okay. So it's they're publishing it.
Which is fine, though, because honestly, as long as I can get it on PC or Steam, that's where I'm going to play it anyway, to be honest. So.
Next on our list, and it's number 7, is the new Battletech game. This game I'm excited about because I'm a huge fan of the Battletech universe. I have been a huge fan of the Battletech universe. It's the pen and paper days in the 80s. And the most exciting thing is the creative team behind this game has members that were part of the original Battletech creative team.
Was there not a Super Nintendo Battletech game?
Okay, so the Battletech universe kind of divided, when it came to games, was divided into 2 parts. There's the games that are Battletech, which are a top-down strategy game.
Okay.
And that was the original tabletop game.
And I
with
like
the hexes where you move around.
Yeah.
And then there was Mech Commander, which was, again, a top-down. That was a real-time strategy game. But then when you looked at Mech Warrior, that was the where you're in the cockpit and you're shooting at things and it's first person.
Okay. Is this game like that?
This game is like the tactical view.
Oh, that's cool, because I was going to say that's what I would probably be into.
Where you have like 4 or 5 mechs and you're moving them around trying to destroy the enemy. But there's so much to this game because the people working on it are the same people who worked on Shadowrun Returns, which was another FASA property. FASA was the company that made Battletech. Microsoft and Topps own Battletech and MechWarrior right now.
Okay.
And they license it out to the original creators, now making a new game today. But all the mechs are there that I remember from my childhood. One of the first games that I played when I built my first PC when I was a little kid was MechWarrior 2. And I was playing it on my 486. And, I remember all the names of the mechs and the history of the universe and all.
Number 6 on our list here actually is the Retron 77 from Hyperkin. And 77 because we're talking about the 1970s, I'd imagine. And this is for Atari 2600 games. It looks like an old wood grain heavy sixer Atari 2600. Now, why would you want this? It's because it would play these games with HDMI. Now, I know that they recently came out with an Atari collection for Steam, which is cool, but this, you can actually take the cartridges themselves, put it into a system, and be able to play it on a modern television. So I think that's pretty cool. That's an overdue item to exist.
In at number 5, I have Electronic Arts and BioWare's freaking moonshot with Anthem. So, Destiny was very successful. Destiny's a very successful game. Destiny 2 is on the way. We're seeing this new model of game development where they got to sell expansion pack after expansion pack after DLC for Destiny. They created this MMO-like community without the MMO. They created this, it's space-based. You have Mass Effect Andromeda being released to mixed reviews. It's not a flop, but it's not a hit. And then you're like, oh, okay. So what was BioWare working on? Well, BioWare was working on a Destiny competitor called Anthem. And, as a kid, I watched Exo Squad. I liked Heavy Gear. I like mech suits and Iron Man.
From somebody who doesn't know much about any of this, I saw the trailer of it, and I saw these guys, they're going around in these exosuits, which are basically like they have jetpacks on, and you're flying around, and it actually looked pretty cool. You're in an open world, and you're flying through the sky, and then you can actually dive down and use a jetpack below the water and stuff. Yeah. It looked really interesting to me.
It's no secret I played a lot of World of Warcraft. It's no secret that I have a good group of people that I play multiplayer online games with. The fact that I can play multiplayer online games as basically Iron Man while, collecting loot and getting new things. I like Destiny for a time, and I am going to play Destiny 2, but Anthem is high on my list of things that I want to play.
So for number 4, we're going to talk about Spider-Man. I think it's Marvel's Spider-Man, this one. So I've been a fan of the Spider-Man games since the PlayStation 2 version of the game, where you could actually swing around the city and do all that. That game was a lot of fun. Obviously a little bit dated now. But then they had another one that came out a little bit later on PlayStation 3. I played that one as well. It was sort of just like an updated version. And again, this just seems like another updated one of those games where you're Spider-Man, you're swinging around a city, you're taking out the bad guys, all that kind of stuff. But the difference between this one is, first of all, this game looks beautiful. I know a lot of people don't really like the white spider on the suit or whatever, but the world environment that you're in, the game looks great. And it probably also looks great because a lot of what you're seeing and playing is a QuickTime event or it's a movie. So I have always had a problem with QuickTime events. We played a game called Until Dawn, which it was essentially really nothing but QuickTime events, right. Where a beautiful looking game, but the gameplay I wasn't very big on because it just continual QuickTime events. Now this Spider-Man game plays like the old PlayStation or PS3 version of Spider-Man, where it's not QuickTime events, a lot of it, but then here and there you do use QuickTime events. So I haven't played the game yet, so I don't know, but it seems to me that this is probably how you would make a game and do QuickTime events correctly, to where it's only part of the game, not the whole game.
I felt like, like games like Telltale Batman and Until Dawn, although I loved Until Dawn, so I can't knock it. It's QuickTime event after QuickTime event after QuickTime event, and that's the gameplay.
Right.
In this game, there are static QuickTime events, but there's also, you could be fighting, and it honestly feels a lot like Arkham City, which is awesome, which is what you want in a superhero game almost. But then as you're doing the fighting, like little cues will come up, like, oh, if you hit L2, you could take this barrel and throw it at them, or oh, if you hit the web button, you could swing over here now, which will change the combat. In the trailer, one of the cool things they did is they launched the guy in the air, and they were beating him up in the air, and then he was going to fall down off the building, and he sucked him in with the web and knocked him on the ground. In the video, we saw stealth mechanics, which right out of Arkham City.
Sure.
Easily. We saw this pseudo QuickTime battle system, which is, quite frankly, an evolution from what we saw in that. And then, we saw a little bit of the cutscene and the QuickTime battle stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, there was a sequence where Spider-Man was taking out a helicopter or something, and during that, he's wrapping up some piece of construction with
it's like a crane.
A crane with his web and all that, and that whole part was only QuickTime event. But my problem with Until Dawn was that was the whole game. This isn't the whole game. You're getting to do like what you would normally do with a little QuickTime event stuff here and there. So I feel like I'm gonna be okay with it. Maybe. I mean, we'll see how much there is. I wouldn't want to do a whole level of all QuickTime events. I would get tired of that, so I hope it's not like that. But from the footage I saw, it seemed like it was a good balance. So, and I just have to say, for me, the game looked beautiful and what you would want a Spider-Man game to look like. And this goes back to the PS2 game and all that, but just like swinging around the city and doing that, it makes you feel like you are Spider-Man, and it puts you in Spider-Man's shoes, and I really, really like those games a lot, so I'm excited about this game. Out of all the stuff from E3, I'm probably the most excited about that, other than one other thing that we're going to get to.
So, we talked about Anthem, open world game. There's another open world game that's a little more interesting, a little more thematic, and that's our number 3 choice, Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is you and your friends are going out on a pirate adventure. You are in an open world where you're solving riddles, you're finding buried treasure, you're fighting other ships, and looking at the trailers, the game just looks awesome. I love the water physics that your ship rides the waves up and down.
When I saw that other ship and you're looking out there, it looks like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean, and it really does look amazing, like the waves and
and when you're listening to the music, it's like they got like the royalty free like Pirates of the Caribbean music. It's funny that they're evoking that so much. Yeah, exactly. But I like that when you get to the land, you're solving riddles, you're getting treasure, and the mechanic of having to carry your loot back while your friends defend you was cool. And I loved when they had a guy back on the ship and they were fighting on the beach and it was getting difficult, and then the cannons just shoot from the ship and take out the enemies on the beach. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think that it's great to have a open world game that's not Ark. It's not Destiny.
Yeah.
It's not Space Marines. It's not
that's what
soldiers.
I was going to say about it. It's fine to have Space Marine stuff sometimes, but I feel like that genre is so overplayed. In fact, I think that's the most overplayed thing, other than maybe like the war shoot 'em up, like Call of Duty kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many Space Marine games or things that are like people in helmets that look like Space Marines or that type of thing. It's just like, it's so nice to see a game that's like online multiplayer this is a pirate theme, and it's like cartoony, and it's like, wow, it's like actually something different. I actually think that this is a game that I might try. I said this to you back when we did the Doom review of the 2016 Doom. I said, well, why will I not play a Call of Duty game, but I'll play Doom? It's because of the theme. I like horror. With this, I like pirates and all that, so I will play it because of the theme.
Yeah, and there's still a fantasy aspect. There's still like skeletons and stuff like that. Right. But they're just like sprinkling it all in there. The thing that's going to make or break this game is there enough to do? Is there enough variety? Is there fun in the sandbox? Right.
Well, it seemed like you got those maps and things that showed you what, you've solved this riddle and then do the next thing. So it seemed like there might be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing that remains to be seen. But as far as the concept and what I've seen from the execution, the weather effects, things like that, I can't wait to be sailing on like 20-foot waves when I'm in a battle with a ship and I'm shooting up at them. Because the waves are...
I'm sorry, I forget if you mentioned this, but you can actually like shoot out of the cannon or like take a rope or whatever over to the other ship. And then there was the one part where the guy tries to swing over to the other ship, but he doesn't make it. He falls in the water, and then the shark eats you, and then it's like game over, but then it probably like resets. I don't know, it looks really fun.
There's going to be a lot of man overboard incidents. I hope it's easy to get back on the ship.
So number 2, we have Metroid Samus Returns for the 3DS. Now, this is something that people have been wanting since forever. A 2D Metroid game. Now, my one gripe, I'm going to say off the bat, is how come we can't have a 2D Metroid title on the system? Why is it not on Switch?
Yeah.
It's got to be on 3DS. It's kind of like what they did with A Link Between Worlds. It's like we finally got a great Zelda game on the handheld, but not on the system. Why can't we have it on the system? They are doing it. We're getting a 2D Metroid, finally. I don't know what took so long, but it looks cool. The main thing that they seem to show off in the trailer was the fact that Samus can now do a block, which looks cool. It looks like any 2D Metroid that, you know, it's the game that you would expect them to make now. It sort of has a 3D look to it, but it is 2D. You know, it's like, what is it, 2.5D kind of thing. What did you think of how it looked?
I think that, you know, you're obviously seeing the limitations of the 3DS. I think that...
Which is why I'm saying, why can't we have it on the Switch?
Honestly, like, Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission and even Super Metroid, given the limitations of the hardware they were on, held up a lot better visually than this title does. This title looks awesome. The gameplay looks awesome. I love that we're going back to that Metroid 2 vibe where we're hunting the different kinds of Metroids, and the block looks cool and all of that, and the game's going to be great. The game is going to be great. I didn't think that I was going to pick up my 3DS in 2017.
I'm guessing that this game, Metroid Samus Returns, is probably gonna be like the last reason to pick up your 3DS.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got a Pokemon game coming.
Okay, the Pokemon stuff. I always forget about that.
You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's one of the last reasons why you're gonna pick up your 3DS.
And I also say that because they're having the 2DS come out now, and now they're starting to like hype that up. So.
Yeah, I mean...
And also the fact that people are now having the Switch, and you can go around with your Switch and play with that. So there's becoming less and less reason to have the 3DS.
You know, it's funny, like, I feel like Nintendo's development decisions are so easy. Like, this game should have came out 2 years ago. So, number one, and I don't think there was any contest in this, at least in my mind.
I would agree.
Everything we saw, oh, man, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus.
Before you talk about the game, I want to say something about that trailer. That trailer was so cool. It looked like they filmed something out of the early 60s, and it looks like you're watching...
It's like Technicolor.
Yeah, it's like not even. It looks like almost like faded, like a movie. It was like perfectly done. It looked like a movie that came out in the early 60s. Except that then they have like these fucking mechanical beasts come out. But I was so impressed of how it looked like it should have been in that environment. I was very impressed by this trailer. I'm not even talking about the game yet. I'm just talking about the trailer itself and what a good promotional vehicle that was for this game. First of all, the game itself looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of seeing the classic id properties stack up. You know, we have Quake, which is going to be our esport. We have Doom, which is like the fast arcade action type thing. And then you have Wolfenstein, which has the shooter action that you're looking for, but it also has this incredible story. And these characters, I mean, I think of all the character-driven games we saw at E3 this year, and the Wolfenstein with the cast of characters, diverse cast of characters, amazing setting. It just looks so great. So the gadgets, the guns.
The original Wolfenstein, you know, is like World War II, and then the New Order. I think he loses the war, and then this is the story of if the Nazis won the war and what's happening now, and then he wakes up in this environment and he still thinks the war is going on or something, and it just looks great. And something that you said a little bit earlier that I totally agree with, when you're playing Doom, like these big, you know, like creatures come along and they're all very demonic. Where this is almost like the reverse of that, where when you're fighting a big creature here, it's like you're fighting a giant mech. And I think it just looks really awesome.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like if you've been watching the Amazon series, the Man in the High Castle. It's like similar to that universe, but instead of it being like the technology level being the same as today, the enemies, the Germans have gone to this hyper technology level, and you get to use it. It's not just setting.
Right.
You're riding the flaming dog. You're getting the guns that do the crazy things. But then you also have like an axe and you're hacking the guys apart with it, which is kind of like back to the older games.
One of the main things that I really liked is the fact that I heard that this game is, it's a single player campaign, and I'm usually I like to play the single player campaigns as opposed to the multiplayer stuff. I know you're a little bit more into the multiplayer stuff, but I'm very excited about that. I think I probably will buy this game and play it. Probably, most of the stuff I probably am literally going to, try it out. So I'm excited. Other than maybe the Retron 77, I wanted to mention that, because I think it's a cool thing that people might want to get. But Wolfenstein, looks awesome.
Wolfenstein looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. And the original New Order is a bear on maximum difficulty, and I hope that they kept the difficulty where it is.
You hope that it's difficult?
I hope that it's hard. On the hard difficulty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that there's difficulty settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think they stole the show. The trailer's awesome, and the game looks awesome, too. There wasn't a lot of disappointment, but I definitely feel like this year's E3 was like a solid, 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10.
It was at least, it's stronger than it has been recently. So,
but still business as usual.
Yeah.
Nothing was I mean Wolfenstein was good, but nothing was oh, this changes the game.